Hello everybody, I'm Perry. Today Eddie Stone, CEO and founder of Touchstone Essential is with us again. Hello Eddie.
Hi Perry.
How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Happy to be here today. Appreciate the chance to speak with everyone.
Yes, me too. Eddie, before we start today, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I thought I would, after we answer questions, talk a little bit about sort of the basics surrounding CBD oil. A lot of your listeners, I can tell because they've contacted me, are aware that we just introduced 2 products with CBD oil in it that have been really well received. People seem very excited about them, and so I thought I would talk about some of the basic questions and things we're getting and help people develop an understanding of the product.
Okay, so I first start the question with zeolite, okay? From Rochelle Delash, can zeolite interact with certain medications?
Zeolites don't have any contraindications that I'm aware of. Now, I'm mostly aware of what is published in the United States, in Japan, and in Europe. So I'm can't say for certain that I know every country and what the indications are, but there are no contraindications here in the U.S., and it does enjoy GRAS status, which is generally recognized as safe. However, I have heard a few doctors that treat people for cancer, oncologists, talk about the platinum-based treatments for prostate cancer, which are based upon heavy metals, platinum, the heavy metal, that they would be reluctant to have their patient use zeolites at the same time. And then I think there's also some other diseases that are treated with medicines that are heavy metal based, and so a person would just, if they're in a situation like that, if they're under medical treatment, if they take regular medications, always a good idea to consult with the pharmacist where they get the product or their doctor just to make sure they understand. But as a rule, there are no contraindications.
Eddie, but some doctors, they might not know about zeolite, like doctor in Thailand, because when the patient go and consult with them, so they, because they don't know, so they cannot recommend anything,
Yeah, that's definitely a situation, right? You'll run across physicians or other nutritional experts that don't know a lot about zeolites, but if that's the person you regularly see, they may not have an answer the first time, but hopefully they would go back and do some homework and educate themselves so that they can provide the right kind of advice to their patient. Or a person could always seek out someone that does have knowledge of zeolites, and so they're dealing with someone with a little more expertise.
Okay, so the next question about shipping from Jennifer Lee. $20 to ship a tiny bottle of zeolite to Canada. I mean, for some people they might say it's costly.
Well, I completely agree with her, and I wish that we had a better solution, but a couple things to keep in mind. That $20 shipping, it actually cost us more than $30, so we do recognize the challenge, and so we write down some of the expense, and that shipping does include the appropriate duty or GST or whatever taxes are associated. Different provinces in Canada will have different taxes, and so I would think as a consumer, I would probably buy more than one bottle so that I can spread the cost across 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 bottles. But I'm very empathetic to that situation, but it's actually costing us more than that, and so I do understand.
Okay, Eddie, since you are going to talk about CBD oil, so I have the question from Pet Flora for you. I tried CBD oil at 600 units for a dental pain, but it did not work. Using THC oil did.
So everybody's body chemistry is different, and so I can't really speak to a specific situation. There are a lot of people that I'm familiar with, not just using our products, but others that are using just strictly CBD oil at various strengths. Our Soothe product is 600 milligrams. There are higher strengths, lower strengths, and I know they have gotten a lot of relief, but that isn't to say that everything will work the same for everyone. THC oil would be by name, and now again, I don't know the strength of what they're using, but it probably has an active amount of THC. And I know THC does have a strong reputation for helping out with pain. particularly people that are getting cancer treatments. You read a lot about them using THC or even smoking marijuana to get relief from pain. But the challenge is that psychoactive is technically illegal in large portions of the United States and frankly around the world. It's only the small amounts of 0.3 that you find in some of the CBD products. Now we have a 0 THC that can be legal. So that really is just a personal situation. There's a lot of people, because of their work, would never be able to use THC, but I'm not surprised that a THC oil would do that. But I've also at the same time seen a lot of people get relief from CBD oil as opposed to THC. So this is just going to come down to both personal preference and how a person's individual body reacts.
Okay, Eddie, since we're talking about CBD oil, so what would you like to share with us today?
Well, what I thought I would do is just go through some of the basics, and this may lead us to dive into more deeper subjects on future shows based upon questions or feedback that we get. But the first thing, and this is sort of one of those common questions, is hemp or hemp oil that's rich in cannabidiol, or CBD, we call it, the same as marijuana, which should be rich, the way it's cultivated, in THC, which is that psychoactive ingredient that can cause intoxication. And so people wonder, well, do they come from the same plant? And the truth is they do. They both come from the cannabis sativa plant. However, that plant has been bred to either accentuate the qualities that we associate with marijuana, and then THC, so that it can get a person high or whatever it is that they're looking for, or that plant can be bred over time so that it's trying to accentuate the qualities of a high amount of CBD oil. And then of course there's also hemp that's grown, that's really sort of cultivated to accentuate its qualities as a fiber, and so hemp clothing or hemp rope or other industrial uses are really in that particular crop. So they are in the same family, but they are not the same thing, and the end product, if properly labeled and all of those things, will show a person what that is. And so the qualities are there, but it's in the same family, but a different variety. Now the other to mention is hemp seed oil. And hemp seed oil has a lot of interesting qualities. It's very, very rich in plant-based omegas. In fact, it's sort of a perfect profile of a plant-based omegas, but it does not really have the CBD, the cannabidiol, or the THC. And so it's more of a carrier or a source of omega-3s. And so then the question I get, sort of following with trying to get familiar with the product, is people will ask me, okay, how does this work? And so I don't want to get too deep into the biochemistry, but essentially your body has an endocannabinoid system, and sometimes you'll see that in articles or blog posts. It's called ECH, and it is a major regulatory vehicle or system in your body. It helps to maintain a homeostasis or balance, and it can also play a very important role in regulating your immune system. We learned a lot about the ECS, or the endocannabinoid system, really beginning in the early 1990s. Scientists sort of discovered what was going on there, and so research has really been quite strong, somewhat limited because of the reputation and some of the legal surroundings associated with cannabis here in the United States. But as we learned more about it, people realized it is an important system in the body and serves an important function. Where a lot of the strong attention came from was in early 2013 here in the U.S., and I know this story got replay in other parts of the world. CNN, the television network, aired a show hosted by Dr. Sanjay Gupta about a little girl named Charlotte who was suffering from a really severe and somewhat rare form of epilepsy. And she was going through as many as 300 what are referred to as grand mal seizures on a weekly basis. And if you've ever been around someone, a human being or even a pet, that goes through one of these grand mal seizures, they're just awful to witness. It's violent, it's dangerous, and people can choke to death. And what they found was this little girl got relief almost immediately when her parents got her a CBD oil to use. And so this really caused quite a stir drew attention to all the things that CBD oil could possibly do, increased sort of the research that was taking place, and it also caused a lot of the states inside of the U.S. to re-examine their rules. And so that's really the first time it sort of broke through and began to gain some popularity. And we really, as a society, sort of recognized, okay, there's a lot of positive things that are happening with CBD oil. And the main thing is just to remember that your body produces these cannabinoids. If you're producing them, it's called endocannabinoids, and they interact with this endocannabinoid system, and we'll just refer to it as neurotransmitters, sort of binders and receptors, and really keeps the system going. But plants produce cannabinoids as well, so those are phytocannabinoids. So when we talk about hemp oil that's rich in CBD, the reality would be that that hemp oil probably has as many as 80 to 100 plus cannabinoids. That exact number, there's still a lot of science out there to be done and to identify all of that completely, but they react with something referred to as CB1 and CB2, and they really sort of help strengthen the immune system and bring balance to the body, so now your immune system works more effectively. It's just remarkable what we see. And some of those benefits are, it helps to fight temporary inflammation, which particularly as a person gets older, right? Sometimes you go to leap out of bed, you can't quite leap out of bed because you're dealing with joint pain, stiffness, and the like. It is an excellent antioxidant, so it does help to fight free radicals. So you're talking about strengthening the immune system there to help fight disease, but also anti-aging. Everyday stress and even depression. And a lot of people don't realize what a big issue this is. Now, there's a real focus right now, at least in the news media the past week or two, about mental health issues. The World Health Organization says anxiety is the 6th largest contributor to disability worldwide. So we know this is a big deal, and stress relievers, particularly healthy stress relievers, can be important. So joint pain and stiffness, and then for me, I'll tell you right up front, Perry, this is maybe my favorite part. It really helps with sleep. That's a very broad sort of testimonial that we hear, not just with our product, but with other people. And for me, I get a more solid night's sleep than I do otherwise. I have an Apple Watch that sort of tracks my sleeping. I know there's a lot of brands that do that. And for me, the difference when I have CBD oil and I don't is just pretty dramatic in terms of my deep sleep. And frankly, at this point, I don't miss it very often. I've traveled a couple times and forgotten it, but for the most part, I won't go to bed without it. And so it's great in that regard, and it's generally recognized or seen as safe. It's well tolerated, it's non-toxic, and pets can use it. And the bottom line is that there's an entourage effect that really comes from bringing this product into the body. And so it's really for those that are conscious of their body, they're conscious of stress, they're conscious of their health. CBD oil can be one more of those tools, just like some of the other things we talk about with improving their health, their overall condition. So it's great. And then one of the other things is that it's very simple to use. I know with our products, when you receive it, a little gentle shake, it won't really fall out of solution, but it's always good to have a gentle shake. And then you would use a dropper. And so for most people, a dosage is either going to be a half a dropper or a full dropper. If you're using a full dropper, that should be about 25 milligrams of CBD oil. And is that enough? That's probably enough for most people, but it's going to vary. And it may vary a little bit because one person's heavier than another person, and so maybe they need more, but that's not always true. Some people are just more sensitive, and I've seen a couple people, they can take 2 droppers and it does nothing for them, right? But if they take 4 droppers, it does. Or others, that's just a half a dropper. And so it's really going to depend on the individual person. Ours, I can speak to ours, I can't speak to all the products out there, but ours is a premium strain. It's very strong, and so a person might want to start slow, particularly if they're sensitive to things like this, and work their way up to it. We use an advanced absorption process. I can speak about that more in just a few moments. And so the main thing is with the tinctured products that are coming either in coconut oil or hemp seed oil or some other carrier like that, hold it under your tongue for maybe as many as 60, 90 seconds, even a couple minutes would be perfectly fine, because you're going to have a better opportunity for that to be fast acting. The active ingredients are going to absorb mucously, And so those small blood vessels, capillaries inside the mouth are going to absorb it. And the reason it works faster is instead of swallowing it, which means now it has to be metabolized and run through the liver, it's just going to be faster going directly into the body via the mouth mucosally or with to those small blood vessels. And so it's really terrific. And then one quick comment about the topicals. And so we do have a topical, I think I mentioned a minute ago, called Soothe at 600 milligrams. And when you apply it to your skin, it's going to absorb into the skin. But just to be clear, it doesn't go into the bloodstream. It goes into the pores of the skin and it accesses the endocannabinoid system in the skin, and so it doesn't have to run through the bloodstream in that regard. And so it can be very effective in these acute areas that are hurting, and people do get a lot of relief from it. It's a very popular product. Ours, we use eucalyptus and lavender, so it does have a nice, pleasant smell. And so that's sort of the two applications we have today. We will be working with other products in the future, and I do know there's a lot of products out there for choice, and so we're pretty excited. And I'll tell you this much, for somebody listening to this that's an entrepreneur, there's a lot about CBD oil beyond just the way it reacts with people to get excited about, because it's an industry that's growing. Most people believe in the next 18 months it's going to grow about 10 times and exceed $1 billion just in the United States in annual sales, and over the next 10 years, most people believe it will exceed over $30 billion annually. So for the entrepreneurs that are listening, it's a tremendous opportunity in that regard. So here's some key features, and then I don't know if you have any follow-up questions, or maybe that's enough for today, but here's the key features for us. We have used a high potency product and focused very much on purity. And so for people that see our products, you're going to notice that it's grown with organic practices all the way across the board, non-GMO. In the United States right now, I've seen some websites where people say USDA organic. That's not really accurate. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the people that govern the use of the term USDA organic, they have not issued regulations because the federal government in the U.S. doesn't quite have all of those regulations in place. We do hope by the fall that would be true. And so for us, where that organic designation comes from is we're working with growing groups that with other crops have those recognitions, understand the rules. And so once the regulations are in place, we're excited because we'll be able to go back and get our seal of approval from USDA, organic. One of the other parts that's important is the strain. And so we use a proprietary strain of hemp. It is what you would really refer to as a pharmaceutical grade, because it's really been cultivated and studied in the medicinal area. So it's really a superior set of genetics that go back some 10 plus years. And so, that's another attribute that sort of separates it from some of the competition. We use only USA, Colorado hemp. I mean, literally for us, it's a soil to an oil environment where we're looking at everything really, and this is true with what we do really across the board with all of our products. One of the reasons we chose Colorado is Colorado has both legal recognition for medical marijuana as well as recreational marijuana, and so the regulatory system there is fantastic. And so we believe it gives us a chance to have a better quality control over the product that we have. Our extraction process is a supercritical CO2, so absolutely no solvents. It's a very gentle process. It preserves all of those beneficial compounds, those delicate phytonutrients, and that's not just the cannabinoids, but also the terpenes. Those are those aromatic oils that you naturally find in plants, and also flavonoids. We do put all of that testing on our site. I have seen some competitors that do the same. If you are buying CBD oil and your source does not publish that information, I would be cautious. You want to know, what's in there. You want to make sure it's free of herbicides, pesticides. You want to look at those growing practices because you're putting that stuff in your body, right? So you want to make sure it's free of heavy metals. We talk a lot here about, heavy metal and detox. And so, we also choose to produce our oil in an enclosed environment from a standpoint of that end production, because we don't want, particularly the terpenes, we don't want that open environment because they can oxidize and spoil, right? So we're looking for a complete profile of available plant nutrients to impact, because there's that entourage effect I mentioned that comes from all of those ingredients working synergistically. So our product is a full spectrum. I would tell the consumers listening, make sure whatever you're using is full spectrum, because you do want all of those individual pieces working together. We chose to bring the first two products we have, our Calm 750 and then our Soothe 600, are both THC free or zero THC. We do have that recognition on our website. I know some people are looking for mixes that include THC, but there's really no indication from a peer-reviewed medical journal standpoint that the performance is really different in terms of dealing with these everyday issues that we talked about. So I guess the final thing to mention is we work with an advanced absorption process, and so one of the things we've seen is that there's a lot of different discussions about the molecule, the delivery system, and these things. We really take the approach of using a simple process. Our product is nano-sized, which means that it has expanded surface area. And so in a lot of cases, even compared to something like the liposome technology that you hear discussed, you're talking about a molecule that's anywhere from 4 to say 40 times smaller. And in this case, now, we've talked about nano here before, you've got to condition yourself that even though it's counterintuitive, the smaller it is, the larger the surface area, and the better ability to bind with those neurotransmitters in that endocannabinoid system. So it's a product we're super excited about. Some people have had some concerns about, is it legal? According to the DEA, the product is legal. About half of the regulatory body in the U.S. Senate has a farm bill that totally opens up CBD oil. That should be a part of the national farm bill by the fall. So we are super excited, Perry, to be able to bring this to folks. If you've got a good source that sort of clicks off these boxes of being free pesticides, herbicides, heavy metals, organic, and it's full spectrum, and you've got some satisfaction, that's great. I'm an advocate of the industry as a whole, and so we're excited to be able to work with it.
I did have just one question. How about people who are in a good health? Can they use hemp oil?
They sure can. I mean, for me, I feel like I'm in good health. All my numbers are good when I get checkups and things like that. My only issue is that I work pretty hard and I do a lot of work in the evenings, and so it's hard for me to sort of unwind and really get the night's sleep I want. I don't think alcohol is a good solution in that regard. I know some people use a couple glasses of wine, but that also can interfere with sleep. And so I've just found, in terms of natural ways for me to improve my sleep, I've just not found anything better than the CBD oil. And so that's the reason I would use it, even though for the most part I'm healthy. And then the other side is the antioxidant qualities. You're getting all of those plant nutrients, those phytonutrients in your systems, the terpenes, the flavonoids, and that antioxidant quality. So just like I'm conscious of eating fruits and vegetables that are rich in antioxidants, the CBD oil really fits in that same way. So for a healthy person, a lot of benefits there. And of course, people with acute issues, joint pain, stiffness, sleep, obviously it can be very effective in that regard.
Okay, Eddie, thank you very much for today. I'll see you again next week, okay?
Thank you, Perry.
Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching, everybody. Tomorrow, see you with Ken Dan Galactics Update. Bye-bye.